Go.
Hey, that sounds promising.
Hi, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast with Giles Edwards today.
Hello
The
again.
subtle message
Oh, yeah.
doesn't want to work because of the background, but there we go. So here we are with another episode of Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast, as I think I've already said. And this is our Criterion Collection, virtual Criterion Closet episode. So first there aren't a lot of releases this week because of July 4th weekend. Usually DVDs and Blu-rays release on Tuesday. Tuesday was July 4th, and I think they decided not to release anything this week. We do have three pieces of news about upcoming movies, but since they're upcoming, we don't know much about them, so we can get through those quickly. Then we'll go through some of our Criterion Collection picks. If we were inside the Criterion Collection closet, what would we pick? What would we take away? So we'll do that after we do the updates. And we have one other thing before I forget. I'd like to say last night I saw Asteroid City, and I have to say we need to cover it. I recommend it. It was the weirdest Wes Anderson movie I've seen. Which is not, David Lynch weird, but it's still unusual, and it deserves our attention. There's a meta narrative to it, which is why it gets the weird rating. That's where most of the weirdness occurs, whereas the main narrative is more your expected whimsical, symmetrical Wes Anderson movie. But yeah, go out and check that out if you haven't already, and we probably need to get on that. We might wait till it comes out on video on demand, however. And Giles, can you see the image?
I can.
Okay. This, surprisingly, is one we forgot to do. I forgot. I'm not going to blame Giles at all.
Well, I also didn't remember, so no.
Well, but I control the slides, so it's totally my fault. We forgot to mention this release last week, and it's a major release because it's a canonically weird movie, and it's a masterpiece from Wojciech Haas, and it's hasn't been available in the U.S. previously to this. You could get it on a British DVD release, but there was no North American official release, and now there is on Blu-ray. It is the Saragossa Manuscript, which is a brilliant movie, an adaptation of a massive novel by, I believe, Polacki was his name, and about set in the Napoleonic Wars, in which it begins with some guys fleeing the battle and going into a shack and finding a book, and they read the book, and inside the book it's telling a story, and as they're going through that story, someone else in the next story will tell a story, and it will move on to another story, and then within that story within a story, someone will tell a story, and we'll have a story within a story within a story, and it takes that structure farther than any movie ever would, up until Guy Madden did The Forbidden Room. It's not as surreal up until the end, but it's very strange. There's lots of ghosts and cults and things in it, and it's just an excellent movie. It's from Yellow Veil, so it's going to be high quality. Giles, do you have any comments on this?
Nothing in particular. I have not seen it. Part of that reason, I suspect, being the availability. So I've really only read your pretty early canon review. So that said, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be high quality. There's a lot of essays, both in booklets and on video as extra features from film critics, including Anton Beitel, who's my Facebook friend and posted his part excerpts from his booklet review on Facebook that I was able to read. So a little bit of a preview there, but not much. But yes, we recommend people check out the Saragossa manuscript, and can't believe I forgot such an important release last week.
Well, at least now it's kicking off this week instead of being lost in the massive pile from last week.
But on to some announcements of upcoming movies. This is probably the one of most significance to people. Giles, do you recognize this still at all?
I did my little bit of research, and so yes, I'm guessing this has to do with, oh, I don't know, a new Cronenberg Senior motion picture that is in post-production. Only unclear news about how far along they are.
Right. This image was posted by Vincent Cassel, who stars in the newest David Cronenberg movie called The Shroud. And he posted it on Instagram, and that was the first anybody had ever heard of the movie, saying that they'd wrapped shooting. Then they released a small press release, and people started going crazy about it. This happened 2 weeks ago, June 19th. So it was news.
A couple of weeks. Yeah.
The synopsis that was supplied is Karsh, an innovative businessman and grieving widower, builds a device to connect with the dead inside a burial shroud. That's Vincent Cassel's role. Then apparently, after some people start vandalizing the graves, he begins to have second thoughts about his invention, watching people vandalize the graves. So that's all we know. It's from David Cronenberg, though, definitely back in his horror roots. And I think people are going to be interested in checking that out, no doubt. Any further thoughts, Giles?
I guess nothing too particular pertinent to this. I guess I'm kind of hopeful. Early in his career, I'd say there was maybe a bit more playfulness with Cronenberg, and he pursued, shall we say, more and more serious or somber elements. So judging from the very little we know about this, I suspect it's continuing along the serious career that he's had and obviously has done very well with. But I would be happy to see him do something not lighter per se, but a bit more subversive, maybe comic, because even in Videodrome there were these darkly humorous things that aren't as prevalent from his past 20-ish years of filmmaking. But that said, that is a very minor complaint I have concerning this director.
Yeah, sure. The Crimes of the Future, his last one, was very dark and somber. So I can see where that's coming from. Another one that's coming out, also, that should be out in 2024. This will also be out in 2024. This is The Waves of Madness. We just have the image from the Kickstarter. Giles, do you want to describe The Waves of Madness?
Yes, this was mentioned by director Jason Trost when we spoke to him a month or two ago. He seemed to have not at all started this project when we spoke with him and thought maybe he'd dilly-dally, but following him on Twitter and certainly with this Kickstarter Indiegogo item, obviously he is an impatient storyteller, so he's already got the groundwork laid for this. It is a side-scrolling black and white Lovecraftian horror film with an additional touch being that he intends to have it appear to be all done in one shot. I watched some of the sample footage, and he definitely captured Lovecraftian, as well as the, shall we say, mechanics of movement often seen in side scrollers, with himself in front of various effects backgrounds on an ominous ship sailing through an ominous ocean. So I am very much intrigued and looking forward to see how this develops.
Indeed, highly experimental to do the whole movie as a side scroller, which is going to certainly make a dialogue challenge, you would think, because people have to face each other, and then I suppose the protagonist will continue on and the other person will disappear from the screen, and then someone else will come on.
And a lot of over-the-shoulder remarks, perhaps. Who
It'll
knows?
be
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, it's certainly fascinating to see how he handles that, and interesting that it's done. I guess since it's a video game, it makes sense to do it inside a genre movie format. But then he threw Lovecraft in there too, which we're always up for.
Yeah.
So exciting stuff from Jason Trost. We'll be looking for that. He only asked for $10,000 in his Kickstarter, so he must have extra funding from somewhere else.
Well, he asked for 5,000 and is
5,000.
approaching 10 grand. So, but I'm sure the more money he's got, the more movie he can put together. So, donate as well you can.
Yeah, if it's still open, I'll see if I can put the link to that on our website, where you can also see his test footage. Now, this one is the third one that's coming out that we really don't know much of anything about. I just caught it in a Variety article. Did you read this description, Giles?
Yeah, we're talking about shadow work.
Shadow work, yes.
Yes, with some doppelganger action going on, and stop motion are the two.
Well,
out there.
It's motion capture.
Excuse me, motion capture.
Yeah, motion capture. So what they, again, video game influenced style. So this, yeah, it's called Shadow Work. It's by directors who are new. Areto Echevarria and Rocky Syed. I probably screwed their names up terribly. I believe they're from New Zealand because it's set in Wellington. And it's about a woman rejected by her family in favor of her own doppelganger. And this is a project, one of 3 projects that were announced at the Annecy Animation Film Festival spotlight for upcoming projects, where they will match new directors with established directors to help guide the program. And one of the directors these guys were matched with was Mark Caro from Delicatessen and City of Lost Children, which is one of the things that brought it to my notice. They're promising, as you can see from this still, if you're looking at it, to plunge into the uncanny valley. So the whole film will be done with, as if it's a video game, characters 3D rendered, that are nearly lifelike, but just not lifelike enough to give you a sense of unease.
Yeah, I played a number of FMV computer games in the mid to late 90s to early aughts that had a lot of full motion video and involved the motion capture tech, and there is a disconnect that we will definitely see between, I'm guessing, the foreground people and the background artificial rendering, and it sounds like they're going to lean into that as opposed to try to avoid it.
Yeah, I bet the people, though, are just 3D models of real actors.
Okay.
So it should be pretty creepy, and it's interesting that they're doing it as a psychological horror movie with a doppelganger. Of course, doppelgangers, always weird. Are there any non-weird movies with doppelgangers? That's a good question. Ever since Poe invented the doppelganger or brought it to literary consciousness, I don't know of a
Yeah. Well, if you, dear viewer or listener, can think of any, please do put them in the comments, because thinking on this, I'm now kind of curious about that myself.
We'll see. So now I don't know how much time we have, like 18 minutes, I think.
Or it's we might, we have probably around 20-ish. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Let's go into our virtual Criterion closet. We're doing this because it is Barnes and Noble's annual summer half-off Criterion sale, and everybody in the Criterion collection community gets real excited at this time and starts making lists and grabbing what they can. And I still have to make my order this year. I use my credit card points, so I get it for free, even though it's half off. But, I save them all year.
You save the other half too.
I save the other half too. Yeah, I save them all year for this this day. And before I let you go, Giles, Shane Wilson couldn't be with us today, but he wanted to participate in this, so he has emailed me a list of his picks, which I printed out and yet can't see because I didn't check it, and the hyperlinks didn't print out. So I'm going to have to go to my email and read them directly. Here are his picks, or I'm just going to read what he says. Now, what you have to imagine is that you're in a closet right now. You know, if you've seen the Criterion Closet series, which you can catch on YouTube, various directors and celebrities go into the Criterion Closet, which is just a small room lined with Blu-rays on every wall, 1,000 Blu-rays as far as the eye can see, and they just look through it, and they have a bag and they pick stuff out and they're able to take it home for free. And we all know that celebrities need free stuff.
Oh yeah.
Here's what Shane writes. To keep from picking every movie in the closet, I limited myself to 4 films and 1 box set. Here are my categories and picks, with the understanding that I'd probably pick a whole new batch the next time, except for A Hard Day's Night. That's on my forever top 10. And he starts off with, movie I love that I'd happily get again, A Hard Day's Night, which I also own from Criterion. His next pick is movie I've never seen but always wanted to, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, by what's his name? Guy who did Donkey Skin. I could look it up, but I'm forgetting. You guys know. It's the musical with Catherine Deneuve. I forget the director's name.
Jacques Demy.
Yeah, Jacques Demy. Yeah. Okay. Canonical 366 weird movie I'd love to own on Criterion. And here's a real good pick, The Trial, which is a movie that has, because it fell into the public domain, has never had a really good release because there wasn't a big financial incentive to do it. But Criterion Collection released The Trial. The Trial, Orson Welles. That would be a great one to grab. I would have that on my own list. His pick for a Criterion box set is The Golden Age of Television, which includes 2 legendary Rod Serling scripts and the original versions of Marty, No Time for Sergeants, The Days of Wine and Roses, and Bang the Drum Slowly. I was unfamiliar with that box set. And then the last movie he'd put in his bag, because he's been reminded in the past week how great it is The In-Laws. Not one I'd probably pick, but and that was Shane's picks. So Giles, do you have picks ready?
I do, and they're a bit more, shall we say, peasant-like, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. I have a very mixed relationship with the whole art house scene, which means there's a whole lot Criterion has, which I understand is absolutely magnificent and very important, but holds little interest in interest for me. However, they have a few things that stand out. RoboCop is something I would very much like to own on Blu-ray.
I did not realize that was on Criterion.
Yeah, I have. I've seen it a number of times, and this would also allow me to replace what I am almost certain is a bootleg Criterion edition that I have on DVD. Which, that said, whoever, presuming it is perhaps not quite the real thing, those who made it did a really bang up job, and it was only when observing the case somewhat closely that I saw some irregularities. So getting that officially and in nice crisp form would be a delight for me. One art house item they have that I saw years ago when I was getting my bachelor's in arts and film theory is a German film with a French title, Coup de Grace, which is a rather, shall we say, dark, melodramatic item that isn't really necessarily my thing, but the setting of it is in Latvia, 1919, at the end of the Russian Civil War, various things going on, and it is perhaps the only art house movie I've seen that has a kind of punchline to do with the title. And so I'd be very interested to check that out again, because I believe the copy I saw was probably lifted from a Laserdisc. So very good, but only as good as Laserdisc quality can allow. And also with I don't know if how many of you may have watched Laserdisc movies. There is something that you have to do at least a few times during it, and that's either flip the disc or swap out the disc. And when we're talking disc, we're talking a real proper vinyl 33 record size disc. So that would be a second one I'd pick up. To fill a gap in my own appallingly lacking history, The Night of the Hunter. It would be as swell a time as any to grab that and finally see it, having read probably 5 or 6 reviews for it by now over the course of my time doing film stuff with 366 and otherwise watching and reading about things, because I know I'd very much enjoy it, and I have no idea why I haven't watched it yet. Another thing I'd pick up just to start rounding out my Terry Gilliam collection is a Time Bandits. I think was recently re-released in the 4K Super Duper edition, and so heck, it'd be swell to get my hands on that. And I think they seem to have virtually all of Terry Gilliam's output, and I have a few things of Criterion of his already. And an out of left field thing that caught my eye when I was scrolling through the hundreds of titles there was a film called Kanoa, A Shameful Memory, which I did not know existed until about 40 minutes ago. It's a Mexican film from 1976 that, quote, reimagines a real-life incident that occurred just 8 years before its release, when a group of Urban University employees on a hiking trip were viciously attacked by residents of the village of San Miguel Canoa, who had been manipulated by a corrupt priest into believing the travelers were communist revolutionaries. That description sounded very intriguing to me, and so that would probably round out my little selection. There are a whole bunch of other things that would catch my eye, but I have a very good deal set up with my mother-in-law, in that every Christmas and birthday I send her a long list of Criterion Blu-rays that I'm interested in, and she gets me a bunch. So I get a little feed every late December as well. So that has plugged some gaps preemptively.
Well, when's your birthday?
My birthday is December 28th.
Oh, okay. So you
I'm just immediate post-Christmas child.
You double up on presents once a year.
Yeah.
My birthday's in June, which is about perfect because it's halfway.
Oh, sorry, we missed it, Greg. We could have done a birthday special.
Well, I think you recorded a Pod 366 on that day, and I was off.
Oh,
I think.
What about you, Greg? What are you grabbing from the Criterion closet?
What am I grabbing from the Criterion closet? Well, first off, I think anybody, and you guys too, could have or should have grabbed this if you had the chance.
Huh.
This is Essential Fellini. And unfortunately, because of the Zoom background, it doesn't want to come out, or it doesn't want to show it very much, but it's kind of cool the way it does.
Oh yeah, no, it's
It is 8 discs of Fellini, not his entire output, but pretty close to it. Maybe it's missing Casanova, and it's missing the Clowns documentary that he did, and probably 1 or 2 others that I'm missing, but it's got everything else in it. I would recommend anybody get that. It's got 3 absolute classic movies in La Strada, 8½, and La Dolce Vita, and there's Amarcord and Satyricon on there, and Roma. So it's just a perfect thing.
oh, I think City of Women is owned by someone
No,
else.
yeah, City of Women is
Oh,
also.
that's on there. Okay, because I got a Blu-ray of that from a different distributor, so I was kind of curious.
That's not on, and that's not in the set. But I watched all the extra features. Toby Dammit is a short 30-minute movie that was part of an anthology that's included on there. It's Fellini's only horror movie, and it's excellent, must see. So that is a collection that I would recommend anybody pick up, because it's so expensive. And if you're in the virtual Criterion closet, you might as well grab it. And in that spirit, my first pick would be Ingmar Bergman's Cinema, simply because it's a box set with 30 discs. So I'm kind of cheating, I think, but I want to get my hands on a good copy of The Seventh Seal and Hour of the Wolf and all the other great Bergman movies, most of which I haven't seen. I've seen Wild Strawberries, but I haven't seen The Virgin Spring. So, I mean, yeah, I can't pass it up. I think that's cheating a little bit, but I'll happily cheat since I'm in the virtual Criterion closet.
Hey, we can do just about whatever we want there.
I can start picking things that are, I can pick the real life David Lynch if I want to. It's all virtual. Next movie I would get, because I don't currently own it, even though it's one of my favorites, is Videodrome. I'd be interested to see since we were talking about Cronenberg earlier, I'd be interested to see what supplements they have that would expand my knowledge of the Videodrome universe, which of course is a canonically weird movie. My next choice is one I'm going to buy anyway, which is The Servant, which we discussed, I think, last episode or maybe 2 episodes ago. The Joseph Losey movie starring Dirk Bogarde and James Fox about a servant and his master whose power dynamics shift between them in a unexplained but fairly sinister way. And it's a mysterious little movie written by Harold Pinter, black and white, a classic. It's stuck in my mind, and I really think I need to own it. The next one that I'm picking up, I think Shane mentioned a category, which is to fill in a gap in my film knowledge, is The Passion of Joan of Arc, which Alfred Aker claimed was the best movie ever made. I don't know if it's the best movie ever made, but it has a giant reputation. It's silent, I think it's silent, or it's not silent. It's an early talkie about Joan of Arc, considered one of the greatest performances by the actress who plays Joan of Arc ever. And I think the final one that I would pick up is a movie that I've seen so many times, but can watch over and over, and would love to check out the supplements that Criterion gave it. It's another canonically weird movie. It is Blue Velvet. Blue Velvet. And then, Shane, if I can be super greedy, Shane reminded me of The Trial, and I'd be really tempted on that one. But Blue Velvet is a movie, that I see And just about every time I see it again, I notice something new in it that I had missed before. It's a very sort of deep and textured movie with a almost mythological structure and a very sort of Freudian thing where Dennis Hopper and Isabella Rossellini are sort of like Kyle MacLachlan's nasty surrogate parents who he discovers doing the nasty while he spies on them in the closet.
In their own way. Yes.
Yeah, and it's about innocence and the shattering of innocence and growing up and encountering evil and yet still remaining good. Very broad themes that are just done super beautifully by David Lynch. And it has some very it's a kind of in a way it's just a standard mystery thriller, but it has some very weird elements, especially my favorite scene. One of my favorite scenes in all of film is and watching it in the theater for the first time and having no idea it was going to happen when Dean Stockwell suddenly in the middle of the movie at the moment of high tension sings karaoke.
Yes, Roy Orbison's classic Candy Colored Clown, they call the Sandman.
Orbison's classic In Dreams, and it's one of the greatest moments in cinema. It also has I think one of the greatest opening scenes I've ever seen.
Oh, the suburban montage.
Yeah, the suburban montage that then the guy has a heart attack and he's watering the lawn, and then it camera tracks down to the ground and goes into the grass and finds a severed ear with ants crawling on it. Simply a fantastic opening sequence that blows you. And so that does it for our virtual Criterion closet.
I guess if I might recommend one more, perhaps my mother's favorite addition to Criterion. It came out a couple years ago. It's the Godzilla collection.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a great one to grab.
It's 15 Godzilla films from the original studio that started the whole thing way back in '54. It's got a beautiful candy colored open leaf thing with Godzilla stomping a city, and it looks like 8 discs tucked in there. My mother has seen them all. I have not, and she says, as might be expected, they're of varying quality, but they're all in pristine form, and it's Godzilla. The first 15 Godzilla movies all together, and it's their Special Spine 1000. So that's a nice bit to have around.
That's a really good one. And you remind me of another Criterion set that they have, which if I could be, if they really literally let me grab anything I wanted for free, I would just stock up on the box sets. I'd take that Godzilla and also the Bruce Lee box set, which I think Bruce Lee only made about 4 movies. So it's a small box set, but still that's a great one to have. Enter the Dragon is a fantastic movie, and I really haven't seen much of the rest of them, so I'd be interested in checking those out. But Bruce Lee is a fantastic, iconic presence, and his biography is so interesting that the extra features would be really fascinating.
Yeah, it makes me think hopefully it's only a matter of time before they snap up the Shaw Brothers collection and get that the treatment it deserves.
Well, Arrow's putting out Shaw Brothers movies in several sets, so there's too many Shaw Brothers movies to put out, but I think Arrow will probably stick with those. Maybe Arrow should send us into the Arrow closet.
Oh yeah, because that occurs to me too. Because Arrow is definitely generally more up. I'd say, 366 is alleyway. At least contemporary coverage of movies or distribution of movies. So yeah, the Arrow closet. They should invite us as their first guests.
I'm the Vinegar Syndrome closet.
Yeah.
And the Mondo Macabro closet.
Oh, we should send out some emails, Greg, and flex our review power muscle there.
Yeah. So that's it for today. Next week, Giles is preparing to go to the Fantasia Film Festival. And so we're going to have a guest on tomorrow or next week. We're pretty sure, we haven't scheduled the actual time, but we got a confirmation of a programmer from Fantasia.
Yes.
named
Jacob Clemmer.
Jacob Clemmer. And we will talk about the movies on the slate. I guess he's seen a lot of them probably, and maybe can steer Giles towards ones that Giles would be interested in. Other than that, I'm going to look at the lineup and make my own list of films I think look promising. Giles will do the same, and we'll kind of reveal them and compare, see how closely we match up.
Yeah, because they announced 3 of their 3 waves, so I'll have some reading to check up on before a week from now when, fingers crossed, we chat with one of the top coordinator types from the festival itself.
Yeah, and Giles, there's a book released there that you should pay attention to.
Is that about the movie poster thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to see if we can get the writer of that on the pod after the Fantasia mania dies down. We're also not making any promises, but we're going to try to see if we can check in with Giles remotely during the pod while he's at Fantasia. That might not work out, so that's far from promised.
Yeah, that will depend almost entirely on what's showing that afternoon. So
yeah, your schedule, or we can always check in earlier at some time that's convenient with you. If you have, you might not have good Wi-Fi. We don't know yet, so we're not promising that.
I'll find
but
out.
I will during the weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. Are you gone 2 or 3 weeks, John?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. During the 3 weeks that Giles is gone, I may host alone, or I may have a co-host. We do have some guests scheduled on those dates. So if I have to go it alone, at least I won't be talking to my screen alone. I will have somebody to back and forth with. Anything else, Giles? We got about 2 minutes.
Just that you should like and subscribe. That may be a mirror image, but we'll see. Anyway, that's all from me. So
all right. See you back next week when we'll talk Fantasia. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.